Virginia Senate Bill 1458 would allow law enforcement to temporarily prohibit somebody from purchasing a gun if they posed a substantial risk of injury to themselves or others. One of these red flag bills. That bill was blocked from ever getting a vote. Senate Bill 1467, designed to protect victims of domestic violence. It would force people with permanent restraining orders to surrender their firearms. That bill did not get a floor vote either. There was also a bill this year in Virginia that would let localities prohibit firearms at community meetings. That was also blocked from getting a vote. How about a bill that would let local authorities prohibit guns at events in big public areas, areas where there's an increased risk of a mass shooting? That was blocked from coming up for a vote, too. Another bill would have required a gun owner to report if his or her firearm was stolen. Lost or stolen firearm, you have to report it. Not a crazy idea, right? That one was blocked, too. Same with a bill designed to combat gun trafficking, as well as a bill focused on universal background checks. All these gun reform measures were proposed just in Virginia, just this year. Not a single one of those bills was ever allowed up for a vote. They were all knocked down in committee in the Republican-controlled Virginia State Senate. And this happens with all of these bills, and it happens every year now. One of the bills they killed this year, the way they killed all the others, was this bill, Senate Bill 1748, which would do something very specific. It would stop the sale of large capacity magazines, extended capacity magazines like the ones used by the gunmen in Friday's shooting in Virginia Beach, in which one gunman armed with a semi-automatic handgun and multiple extended magazines for ammunition was able to murder 12 people before dying himself in a shootout with police. That bill would have prohibited the sale of magazines designed to hold more than 10 rounds of ammunition. He would have had to reload more frequently, use more magazines. He would not have been able to shoot off quite as many rounds before having to break, stop, and put in another. That bill was struck down in committee on a party line vote. All 8 Republicans on that committee voted against it. None of this opposition to gun laws is new, especially in Virginia. Democrats always bring this legislation up. It's mostly Republicans who always vote it down. But in the wake of Friday's mass shooting, in the wake of what happened in Virginia Beach on Friday, Democratic Governor Ralph Northam said today that he's going to convene a special session of the legislature, a special session of the Virginia legislature to take up a package of gun control bills. He indicated that he is looking to hold this special session soon. And he means soon, like this month. And while it is true that gun reform legislation has not fared well in the state of Virginia, after what happened in Virginia Beach on Friday, they will be taking up these bills in a different climate. At least this time they know the whole nation will be watching as they take up these gun reform measures that they have been so happy to knock down every single time, every year before now. Joining us now is Democratic Virginia State Senator Adam Ebbin. He proposed the bill that would have banned the sale of large capacity magazines, the ones similar to those used in last week's shooting of Virginia Beach. He's also the co-chair of the Gun Violence Prevention Caucus. Senator Ebbin, thanks very much for coming on the show this evening. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So it is with hindsight that we look back at that extended magazine bill that you proposed, and we pick that out. We highlight that now among all of the other gun bills, all of the other gun reform efforts that have died in the Virginia state legislature. That one seems like it glows in the dark because of what happened in Virginia. I wonder if you feel like the politics around that may have changed in the state now, given what you've just been through.
Well, we're hoping that the ice will crack and that there will be some more serious consideration. In the past, we've seen all these bills dismissed out of hand. And by having a special session, I think the governor is forcing a focus on these proposals and that the people of Virginia are demanding action. So we're hoping that their legislators will listen.
I feel like because of the way that Democrats have proposed these things in the past, including your bill on extended magazines, they're very narrow-cast provisions, right? And a lot of the reforms that are being talked about, potential reforms, potential remedies, things that might have made a difference in Virginia Beach, things that have been talked about over the past few days, are narrow-cast reforms. The question of whether or not it might have made a difference to police in the response time to the shooting of Virginia Beach had the alleged shooter not had a silencer. Should silencers be legal to sell? Should the kinds of extended magazines that he used so that he didn't have to reload as more as frequently as they otherwise would, should those be for sale in Virginia? I wonder if you feel like the smaller scale the ambition, the more likely you may be able to at least enter into dialogue with this with your Republican colleagues.
Well, sure, there can be we'll be more likely to have a good dialogue that way. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't have a comprehensive approach. It's not enough to pass one little measure. We need things also like universal background checks, extreme risk protection orders, as you detailed earlier, and child access prevention. We can't count on one measure to make the entire state safer, but we've got to try and enact a package.
How do special sessions work in Virginia? Obviously, the governor is saying that he's going to convene the legislature for this special session. He can call the legislature back into session. But with a Republican-controlled legislature, they can decide what to do thereafter. Couldn't they just shut down the session right away if they don't want to talk or think about any of these things?
They could try, but that's. I think that the public wouldn't have it. The governor will call the session for a date certain, probably in the second half of this month. We'll go down there. There'll be rules adopted by the Rules Committee about what's taken up, and I would expect that we meet not just once, but more than once.
Let me ask about Virginia and the issue of the NRA. The NRA obviously is headquartered in Virginia. The NRA historically has been a juggernaut in loosening gun regulations and in certainly blocking any reforms aimed at gun safety or preventing gun violence. The NRA is also in a pickle right now in a lot of different ways. They are caught up in the Russia investigation. They are caught up in multiple financial investigations. They're caught up in some epic infighting. They're facing inquiries in New York State where actually they're chartered that potentially pose an existential threat to the organization essentially being delisted as a nonprofit organization, which might be fatal to them as an organization. I wonder if the NRA as a factor has been a sort of different type of force, different magnitude of force on these issues in Virginia than it might be right now.
No, it's been a significant factor where the NRA gets its way on every bill. And I guess your question is it going to be diminished? And I think they'll still be there, and people will still be taking their point of view into account. But the question is whether or not their constituents' point of view is the one that is going to be the one that matters to legislators.
Democratic Virginia State Senator Adam Ebbin, thanks for your time this evening, Senator. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
All right, still more to come tonight. Stay with us.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.